I was in the restaurant business for 11 years. 8 of those I was a chef, which gave me a really good foundation to become a food writer. And I've written about the restaurant industry for 33 years. But about 10 years ago, when I was doing a story for Southern Living about Bardstown, I finally caught on to bourbon and looked around and thought, maybe I should be writing about this since I live in Kentucky. So I've written mostly about spirits for the past 10 years. And those two careers just kind of came together really nicely in that I had a foundation and an understanding of food and spirits and wine and beer and all that. And I had a good opportunity to make another career and write about it. Yeah. What I really love about doing these presentations is it takes people off guard. People have had wine and food pairings, beer and food pairings for as long as time immemorial almost. Spirits, on the other hand, people tend to either set them aside in cocktails or set them aside as neat pours and leave them alone. However, many years ago, I stumbled upon just simple pairing of prosciutto sliced country ham and bourbon. And it was a real epiphany for me. And that was, and still remains, kind of the fulcrum upon which I balance most of my pairings. It's a great combination that coats your mouth, food generally, and spirits get an opportunity to cleanse it all away and leave your palate tingling. And I don't think many people know that, and they certainly don't understand it until they go through these experiences. So many times when that happens, people are like, I'd never thought of that. I would have never thought of that. I never would have thought that if you take blue cheese and chocolate and put them together and had me sip a good whiskey behind it, that it's going to taste great. And so it's that epiphany and that awakening that they have that's really the most exciting part of doing this. Plus, they get up in front of people and get out of a chair. Writing keeps you in a chair. Presentations get you out in front of a crowd and making new friends and creating new experiences. Well, that depends on which category you're talking about. If we're talking about American whiskey, I'm really hooked on American rye. I just love it. I think it's fantastic. It's spicy. It has a ton of character. It's bold. It's great to sip. It's great in cocktails, and it's really, really good in food pairings because it cleanses the palate so well. But I also love tequila a lot. Really enjoy it. Spent a good amount of time in Mexico over the past couple of years enjoying that and learning about the artisanal process that's still alive and well in tequila. So, were I forced to choose between the two? Man, that's tough. I don't know. That's a Sophie's choice, frankly. Maybe American whiskey or American rye whiskey because it's here. My ideal speaking engagement is anywhere from 1 to 200. I have no problem talking to couples. I have no problem talking to a crowd. I love a big room. I love being able to walk around and talk to people. I love making it interactive. I love shaking hands with people and asking them personally, even right there in the presentation, if they're liking and they're enjoying what we're doing. It gets people interested, it keeps them engaged, and it also frees them up to ask questions during the presentation. So far I haven't had a 200, but I've had several at 160. So happy to step up. That's a question I get asked a lot. Can you customize our food and spirits pairing? Absolutely. I did a project for a large distillery here in Kentucky that once it was done, I had tasted just with one whiskey I'd tasted more than 100 different bites to find out what was going to work and what wouldn't work. And about 60% of them actually worked. So that the opportunity to customize it is easy. I love to do it in situations that kind of reflect where I am. In Kentucky, I nearly always use long-aged country ham that's prosciutto sliced thin, just like you would see in Italy. I've been out in California and I've used some other bites that are anchored in Mexican food to work well with tequila. Sometimes whiskey also. It just depends what you want. Is there a theme involved in your event? And particularly if you even have your own product, that we anchor it to that. So how many books have I written? 7 total. most of which center on food or spirits. And there was actually one in there that was on historic automobiles at one time, which was a lot of fun, but it was a lot of research for me. The one that started all these pairings was my first food book, which is called Country Ham, A Southern Tradition of Hogs, Salt, and Smoke. And believe it or not, when I was editing the final manuscript, there was some country ham in the refrigerator. It was late at night. It had been sliced prosciutto thin. I was having a little whiskey, so there might be a couple of mistakes in that chapter, and maybe I didn't edit it so well. Who knows? Um, and that's when I realized that food and whiskey go so well together. So that started this part of my business. Along the way, in my journalism career, I covered the pizza industry on the trade side for about 9 years. And so 2 years ago, I wrote a book about the world pizza champions. These are, I think it was 49 men and women who are some of the top pizza competitors in the world. There is such a thing. And it was like wrangling cats to get these recipes from them and get them standardized and stories behind them. But it was so much fun to be around some of the greatest in the world. But I also did a book on home distilling one time, something I didn't know anything about, but something I had to research quite a bit and found it fascinating. And despite our government's desires, there's a lot of people doing it. That's kind of the fun of the book. It's the stories and the personalities behind it. I love books that focus on the maker and what they make.